Hello, we are the Game of the Receipts, and this is our presentation about the main challenges for the companies.
Do you know the major sustainability challenge a company could have?
I think that one of the greatest one is the emission of CO2 and how to decrease the emission of CO2. Due to the climate change, the temperature is rising and the level of sea are also rising. So not only the governments and the non-governmental organizations are trying to address this challenge, but also the corporations.
And what kind of company would you think comes to mind first?
Well, I think it's our company, ASICS. Our company is doing a lot in terms of addressing this challenge. They devoted themselves to decrease the amount of CO2 that they emit by 50% by 2030. And mostly what they do in order to decrease the CO2 is they switch to green energy, to solar energy. They try to use more energy efficient equipment and vehicles, and also retail stores.
And what was your experience with CSR this block?
Well, my experience with CSR is that I think I became a more aware consumer when I realized what influence the big companies have on the environment and on people.
And what does CSR mean for small and large businesses?
CSR means that the companies, it's both a duty and a chance, because the companies have to care for the environment, but also since if they will really show the customers that they care, they can gain more customers.
What did you learn from this block?
Well, I learned that there are many sides of business, and one of them is helping the environment and the communities. Hey Daphne, do you know the major sustainability challenges in international companies?
One of the big sustainability challenges is the workplace of the employees. Employees face different challenges as well, especially if it's all over the world. And the company that we had, ASICS, takes a lot of action into making sure that the workplace for these people all over the world is a more safe working environment, and they even give them education on how to have a good workplace and on how to have communication with everyone in the workplace. And I think ASICS is doing a good job on that.
Yeah, so you think that ASICS is facing this challenge as well?
I think that they were indeed facing the challenge because their products come from all over the world, and you never really know what's going on if you don't pay a lot of attention to it, and they make sure that they dig into actually where they're getting their products from. Yes.
Can you tell us about your experiences with CSR this block?
My experience with CSR this block is that I definitely learned more on how to be more sustainable and how to live a more sustainable life. I reduced the plastic waste that I have in my daily life. I pay more attention to the foods that I buy. So yeah, I think it had a big impact on me.
And what do you think CSR means for businesses that are small and large?
I think that CSR is a big factor in especially a big company, because if a company does not pay attention to any CSR, it can also damage or influence the reputation of the people, and also the vision of what people have of that company. If they don't care about work, how the working place for people are or whatever, then they could damage their reputation.
So what is your learning outcome of this blog?
My learning outcome is that I actually learned a lot from this blog. I learned on actually what CSR is and what sustainability is, and that it's really important. So yeah.
Hey Alessio.
Hi.
Do you know the major sustainability challenges in international companies?
Well, I think a major sustainability challenge for a big company is child labor or underpaid labor, because it's very easy for them to nowadays go for the cheapest price of labor, no matter whether they use children in that labor who are underaged or they underpay the workers. So I strongly believe even for fashion companies or food industries to use child labor or underpaid labor is a big problem.
And do you think that our company ASICS is facing this challenge?
I don't believe ASICS is facing this problem as much as other companies could, because they're already aware of child labor, that's not good to do, not for their image and reputation. So I believe they do very well with underpaid labor and child labor. Of course, there are always some problems. No one can be perfect, but I think they're doing very well.
And what do you think CSR means for small and big businesses?
I think the impact of CSR is bigger on worldwide companies than small companies. For example, here in Rotterdam, where we interviewed Sharp. They were very much aware of CSR as well, because they were very sustainable by using only vegan and organic products to make their own products. They renew energy, they reuse plastic and everything. So I think it's relatively the same, except the scale of the impact is of course much larger.
And what is your experience with CSR this blog?
Well, it was definitely an eye-opener for me. This blog I decided to try out to be vegetarian. It has been challenging, but it made me think how I can eat as well, instead of always having to eat meat, and meat is good for you, and even though it's not really that good for you. So yeah, it's definitely been an eye-opener.
Hi Paulina.
Hey.
What do you think is the major sustainability challenge in international companies?
Well, I think the problem is that companies should actually take some actions instead of just pretending that they do. I mean, that's about the greenwashing, because, well, I wasn't aware of this fact before this blog, and, when I see all that green fluffy language like flowers everywhere on the top of the bottle, I don't know, around the label, then I think, well, yeah, okay, that must be something recyclable or whatever. But the thing is that it's not, and probably companies should adhere to their own policies, but not to demonstrate it.
Yeah, and what do you think about greenwashing in relation to ASICS?
Well, ASICS is really, well, it's not perfect, because, I mean, it's pretty hard to say that, but I was really looking for a catch, but the thing is that there is no catch. They really try to be very transparent about their actions, about what they do, about the way they treat employees, about the way they recycle, for example, the rubber or synthetic fibers, and which are used afterwards. So yeah.
And what do you think CSR means for businesses that are small or large?
Well, doesn't matter whether the company is big or large, you still have an impact on the environment. Yeah, for sure. Multinational companies have they have much more contribution, but still. And that's more about the personality, like the identity of the company. If you regard yourself as, eco-friendly and sustainable, then do that.
And what is your experience with CSR this blog?
Oh, well, this blog was actually harsh, because it lasted only 3 weeks, but still, I mean, it was way more difficult than the previous ones. But I became much more aware, I understand that now I'm looking for some labels like fair trade and things, and I actually go to Markt Hall with my own backpack or with my own bag, just to carry the vegetables. So.
And what is your learning outcome of the blog for you?
Don't believe everything which is said on the front, and check.